Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Today's story is going to be very scary, so close your eyes, put on your headphones, and listen in peace. So, let's begin. I have a similar story of my sister and I. I was about 9 and my sister 10. We were washing the dishes manually one afternoon, maybe around 12 and in, when I saw a shadow on my peripheral vision. Thinking that maybe this is our uncle trying to scare us, I turned around quickly, but at the same time my sister did the same thing. When we looked back, there was no one around. I asked why my sister turned around at the same time I did. She said she saw a shadow. So we looked for our uncle, and he was in the bedroom sleeping. There was no one else in the house except the 3 of us. Anyway, my family had all these weird experiences in this house, and we lived here only a little more than 1 year. Another weird experience was with my older brother. Our bedroom have windows on one side only, facing the street. During the evening, lights come in from the light post outside. We didn't have curtains, but the glasses on the windows were frosted/translucent. One time, I woke up in the middle of the night, and there's this shadow on the window that moves from one end to the other, about the speed of someone running. It's not a constant movement. Maybe every couple of minutes the shadow will appear. This happened several times during that night until I fell asleep. In the morning, I told my brother about it because we share the same bedroom, and he said he witnessed the same thing. We try to make sense of it, but it doesn't add up. We know that the shadow was not coming from the street because the street was steeply sloped and the shadow movement was not in an angle. We're thinking that whatever it is, it was moving in our yard. It was flat as opposed to the adjacent slope street that was about 5 to 10 foot away. The thing that doesn't add up is that our yard had plenty of dried leaves at the time, but we didn't hear any noise. No footsteps, no crunching sound of dry leaves whatsoever whenever the shadow passed. Now let's start the second story. This is a story I do not often tell. I promise sincerely that this has scarred me for life, and although I have looked into psychological explanations for what I heard and natural explanations for what occurred, they remain unsatisfactory. When I was a child, I was scared of the dark. I swore to my mother I heard voices in it. They were not evil, but they were not familiar, and so they scared me. It was not uncommon in the middle of the night for me to wake up and hear whispers, as I would call them when asking my mom. She figured they were just bumps in the night and typical kids' nightmare material. I tried often to explain to her that it was more than that they sounded different from one another the way people's voices do. On some nights, I would get so scared from these whispers that I would sleep in my mom's bed with her. It was an added bonus that the bathroom was directly outside of her bedroom door for my late-night tinkles. I should add at this point that when walking out into the hall to go to the bathroom, you look directly down the stairs that would lead you into my living room on the first floor, as my mom's bedroom was on the second floor. On one such night, around Christmas, I awoke and felt the need to relieve myself. I walked out from the door and distinctly heard the phrase, "Look!" And to my astonishment, a red light, almost like a spotlight, was cast upon the wall at the very bottom of the stairs. The light had no other source. It was by itself, and I was transfixed by it. Being a little kid, and it only being a few days from Christmas, I knew what this light was. It was Santa. How else could he get into my house to know I was being a good boy? I was so excited, I began walking down the stairs to greet him, picking up my pace after the second step as it began to creep off the wall and fade into the darkness in my living room. That's when I heard him. A very strong, masculine voice, different from the first. Not at all like my father's. Not to say he isn't masculine. It was just distinctly different. It said, "Stop, right now. Go back up those stairs." I listened, turned around, and what happened next, I am not sure I would believe if someone had told me this same story. After reaching the top of the stairs, I heard a very loud crash that sent me running back to my mother's bed, where I jumped straight under the covers and stayed there the whole night. When we awoke the next morning, the poinsettia lights, little Christmas flower lights that glowed red, my mother had put on the railing down the stairs, were pulled straight down to the bottom of the stairs, some broken from what seemed like a forceful tear, laying in a single pile. The dry sink in my living room had fallen from the wall. My mother could not explain it. My father was worried we had been the victims of a home invasion. My sister was crying. There was nothing missing. Nobody had broken in. There did not seem to be any reason this had happened. And then I saw it, and I kept quiet about it because I was so afraid that I could not force words out of my mouth. There, on the edge of the wooden dry sink, which had been facing up, were 3 indentations where the finish on the wood had been worn, almost as if in a forceful grip. Something down there had grabbed it and threw it down. That was what the bang was. I was mortified. After that day, I never heard a single voice again. I did not like to imagine what was waiting downstairs for me that night, if it was anything at all, but I can tell you that the reality was that something had physically acted upon 2 things in my house near the bottom of that stairwell. After this, I had never heard another whisper again, which is sad because in some ways I would have liked to thank the man, masculine energy, that had stopped me from going down those stairs. This happened when I was 7 or 7.5. As I liked to say at the time, I am 20 years old now, and because of this incident, I am still afraid of the dark, especially shadowy stairwells.